So I came across this video by this guitarist named Thor Jensen, and it's about when he really learned to practice. He has a little jam at the beginning, incredible guitarist, go check him out. But in watching this video, I kinda realized a conclusion that I've been slowly approaching for years now. And that's that I don't really want to make it in the music industry. Now lucky for me, it's really difficult and it's not being forced on me or anything like that. But in this video, he talked about how he had kind of lucked into his dream gig with an artist that he really respected. He was given a few albums to learn. He said he had to practice like 5 hours a day just to keep up, gigging 5 nights a week, touring. And again, this was his dream. Like, this is something that a lot of people would love. But to me, it all just sounded exhausting and not really conducive for the lifestyle that I live. Now don't get me wrong, I love playing guitar. When I was 10, I got my first guitar and some lessons. My parents were really supportive of it. I started a high school pop punk band with some friends, recorded a couple of EPs, played a few gigs here and there. The band eventually split up because life happens. But all I really knew about myself by the time I graduated high school, at least in terms of what I wanted to do with my life, that I wanted to play guitar, which is not the most practical thing to think at that point. The most well-known path for that is, of course, and maybe what a lot of people would consider the dream, be to write songs, release music, build a following. But you know, the reality is that with just the music alone, you take a platform like Spotify, it pays something like 1/3 cent per stream. Maybe even less, but for the sake of math, we'll go with that. That's 333 streams for $1, 333,000 streams for $1,000. I mean, even viral success doesn't really pay rent or a mortgage. Every band knows in order to actually make it work, it requires touring, merch, licensing, all separate businesses. It very quickly becomes not about the music. You know, guitarists start out, they want to be an artist, and they pretty quickly realize they have to be an entrepreneur. That did make more sense at the time was worship leadership. Since middle school, I've always been involved in playing guitar at church. In high school, I started singing and leading worship for the band. And so it made sense to me that as a career, that would give me the opportunity to play guitar and do something what I would consider meaningful. It seemed like a perfect blend of the important parts of my life. When I actually put this into practice, I realized it's not just that. Anyone who does this knows that there's a lot more to it than that. You gotta wrangle your volunteers, there's a lot of emotional labor, and a lot of times there's church politics involved. I mean, I was told I was pretty good at it, and I was passionate about it, but that type of thing takes a special type of person. And although it wasn't the worst fit, I got into it for the wrong reasons, and so it just didn't work out. Along that journey, I've tried teaching guitar through guitar lessons. That's another thing a lot of musicians do on the side in order to make things work, make ends meet. But I quickly learned that playing is not teaching. The real skill required in giving lessons is being able to teach. And that's never been a huge strength of mine. The other thing about that is a lot of the times, student progress is dependent upon how much they practice, how much effort they put into it. And while that doesn't redeem a bad teacher, Those two things and not seeing great results made it feel kind of icky to take their money. A lot of the times these students just need motivation coaching. There's only so much material you can really give them in order to practice. And though I would love to teach my kids the guitar someday, the actual skill of teaching is something I need to work on. And on top of all this, teaching is not playing. I wanted to play guitar, and although this was guitar related, it just wasn't the same thing. It didn't scratch that itch for me. So something else I've tried along the way is session work. I became very inspired by Tim Pierce, and seeing that workflow just really appealed to me. It seemed like something I could do, something I could fit into my lifestyle. You see, I got married and planted roots fairly young, and so being a successful touring, gigging musician didn't seem super viable to that. And on top of that, with session work, like, the appeal was that I would just play what was needed. It seemed perfect. I could work in the creativity. I felt like I had the chops. But when I did finally drum up some session work, I found the reality of it. It's something that Tim talks about, but I am a guitarist and I have my own style. Sometimes there were style mismatches, sometimes there were unclear expectations, sometimes there were creative differences. See, as a session musician, the real job is interpreting someone else's vision, while really suppressing your own. It's their music, and you're just bringing it to life. And not that I'm above trying to fit into someone else's vision, but that's a lot harder than it seems at face value. The other problem with session work is that it's just hard to come by. For both session work and giving lessons, the first skill you need in order to make money from it is sales. You have to be able to sell yourself, and you have to be able to sell the value that they're getting out of it. And if you can do that, that's great, but I'm not a salesman. I'm pretty frugal as it is, and so convincing someone to spend their money is kind of antithetical to what I do. And I just wanted to play guitar. So I eventually started noticing a pattern emerging. Every path to doing this was going to require sales, marketing, business development. Every band success is going to require touring and merch. The reality with doing something like touring is that I was going to be scraping by financially, getting almost no sleep, constantly on the run, months away from home, and I'm a homebody, so that just sounds exhausting. And as a married guy with kids, that just doesn't appeal to me. I want to be around. My family needs me at home, and the music industry would need me on the road. I mean, the core truth here is that seemingly every music career is actually just running a business that happens to involve playing guitar. Like, I wanted to play guitar, and the industry just wanted me to sell it, which makes sense. How else do you make money? But look, kids need routine, stability, present parents. Doing something like touring and gigging every night would cause relationship strain, both with my wife and my kids. Bar gigs, staying up till 2 a.m. when kids wake up at 6 or 7 a.m. has never appealed to me. I'd be missing bedtime, school events, and just quality time with them. Like, kind of what it boils down to for me is I could either chase the music dream or be present for my family. I can't really do both. And I don't really want to. Like I said, a lot of that just sounds exhausting and unappealing to me. Now, I could see myself really loving doing something like what Thor did and joining a group of musicians that I really admire. Something like joining Brit Floyd. Playing Pink Floyd songs every night just sounds like a blast. Like, it sounds genuinely amazing, but completely incompatible with my life. So it's not that the dream is bad. It's just that it's someone else's. It's not mine. So I've kind of found a balance in all of this when I started playing guitar on YouTube. It's really kind of been the perfect fit for me. I get to play the music that I want to play. It's a sustainable routine. It works well with my family life. I'm just in a bedroom with the door closed. So if somebody needs something, they can just knock, or I can just disappear for 30 minutes. I don't need to coordinate schedules with band members. There's a built-in audience just waiting to find this stuff. I mean, look, I'm not saying I'm a huge channel, but right now I've got 124 subscribers, and the amount of views I get on almost every jam video is bigger than the crowds I ever had at any gigs. Would it be cool to monetize? Yeah, but there's zero pressure, so I can basically just do whatever I want. And you know, I still play the occasional gig. I don't do this a whole lot, but I could really see myself enjoying something like joining a function band to do wedding gigs and things like that. But playing my own music for drunk bar crowds until 2 a.m., it's just not my scene, not my season. So look, Thor, the guitarist who practiced for 5 hours a day, gigged 5 nights a week with an artist that he really admired, that's awesome. He got to live his dream. And he's still living his dream. He pays his bills through music. For me, that would mean missing out on a lot of things. Even my 9 to 5, I get to work from home. I get to see my kids grow up. Some people are built for the road, and I'm built for a bedroom. a bedroom studio. Both are valid, but only one is mine. Everyone's built different. And look, you could call YouTube chasing a music career, I guess. From what I've heard, even the bigger players in the space don't really make much more than an honest living, which is great, don't get me wrong, but I feel like generally when someone's chasing something kind of risky, kind of speculative like YouTube, a lot of times they're looking for bigger payout potential. And look, who knows where this will go. But right now I'm just enjoying playing guitar and hanging out with you guys, making these types of videos every now and then. So I would know what you've tried. Let me know in the comments what's worked for you and how it's turned out, how it's kind of gelled with your lifestyle. And hey, if you want to see my journey about jumping onto YouTube and recording these songs and some stuff that I've learned along the way,